context, modern slavery is quite common in Ghana, manifesting itself vividly in the form of exploitation of children and women's labor, especially within the agric sector. The menace has not received the needed attention to address the various forms of modern slavery comprehensively in the country. Well, good news is that ActionAid Ghana, Ghana's Combating Modern Slavery project, is responding to the issue of decreasing the scale and prevalence of modern slavery within the agric sector and corporate industry. Here to shed more light is John Inko, who is Country Director, ActionAid Ghana. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us. I want us to talk about, first of all, just tell us what modern slavery is, and then we can carry forward.
Thank you very much, Darrell. It's always a great pleasure to be in your studios, and most especially to be interacting with many Ghanaians through your authoritative and well-viewed TV station. Now, basically, when we talk of modern slavery, there are a lot of, it's an elastic, concept, but there are authoritative mechanisms, such as the ILO, that have clearly indicated that modern slavery is any form of exploitation that a person cannot refuse or leave because of threats, violence, deception, coercion, abuse of power in various forms. And in ActionAid, when we talk of power, we do a power analysis, and basically we are looking at how there is imbalance of power relations between people and other people who are considered as vulnerable. Power imbalances between men and women. Power imbalances within the business sector, and so on and so forth. And in terms of modern slavery, we are looking more in terms of power imbalances and how that translates into modern slavery within the agriculture value chain.
Okay, and so ActionAid Ghana has come up with a project, the Combating Modern Slavery Project. Tell us about it.
Thank you very much. The Combating Modern Slavery Project is one very innovative and creative project undertaken by ActionAid with funding support from the Norwegian Development Corporation. Now, under this project, we seek to address issues of modern slavery within the context of identifying modern slavery, preventing it, and even empowering vulnerable communities for that matter to be able to respond, to be able to seek redress, and so on and so forth. Beyond that, we also seek under the project to build the resilience of the vulnerable people that I've spoken about to respond. And by so doing, we need to be able to enhance their capacity to resist modern slavery or to be self-reliant so that they are not exposed to the vulnerabilities of poverty, vulnerabilities of economic exploitation, and so on and so forth. And finally, we are looking more in terms of how can we build an interagency relationship with government to ensure that we are collaborating with government, supporting government to be able to respond or be responsive in addressing the vulnerabilities associated with modern slavery, which comes in different forms, such as forced labor, human trafficking, sexual exploitation, and child trafficking, and so on and so forth. And so as we go ahead, we would seek an opportunity to deliberate on that, but the essential objective of this engagement with the media is to underscore the important roles of the media as our collaborators in the fight against modern slavery, but equally more importantly, to ride on your shoulders to be able to expand the literacy or education around modern slavery so that many people are aware of it, many people can identify it, many people can prevent it, and then many people can seek redress.
And just out of curiosity, how prevalent is modern slavery here in Ghana?
Yeah, thank you very much. If you look at the prevalence of modern slavery, we say about 3 people out of 1,000 are exposed to modern slavery. And if you match that in comparative terms with what we talk about in terms of the global responsiveness, we have Ghana currently standing at about 44.9 as against 68% of the industrialized countries. If you are checking in detail how the impact or the effect of modern slavery are in comparative terms with other countries in the sub-region, We talk of countries like Eritrea, Mauritania, in sub-Saharan Africa, where we have large cases of modern slavery practices. And we have advanced countries such as Norway, who is funding this project, where they are doing so well and the scale is relatively very low. But that notwithstanding, the fact that 3 out of 1,000 in Ghana suffer from the vicissitudes of modern slavery does mean that there is a cause of alarm, because nobody should be exploited in the area of work. No one should be exploited sexually, and no one should be exploited in the agribusiness subsector.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk about modern slavery, our mind always goes to the agri sector. But I mean, like you point out, it's also happening in the corporate industry as well. Tell us about it.
Yeah, in the corporate world, we, as a matter of fact, must underscore the fact that the Sustainable Development Goals 8 does amplify that there's the need to combat modern slavery through the promotion of sustained, inclusive, sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. So what that means is that within the corporate sector, governments must day in, day out be addressing issues of forced labor, because anytime within the employment regime there are issues of sexual harassment, as amplified in the ILO Convention 190, 189, and 183, it does point to the fact that all forms of exploitation in the workplace is a no-go area. In terms of promoting decent work, as you work in job, you are entitled to leave. Women are entitled to maternity. In some organizations, we have paternity, and so on and so forth. These are legally mandated rights that people should stand to benefit in the place of work. But what do we see? Especially in the informal sector, where regulation is weak, you may find people who are employed without contract. That's unfair contract practices. They do not have their rights within the regime or the area of work. And what that means is that their self-esteem and confidence in the workplace is low, they are easily exploited, and so on and so forth. And so this project is seeking to also address issues of decent work in the light of the fact that there are some decent work practices that are not upheld in the area of work. And so you can have even, within the domestic work, there are cases of domestic servitude. People within the context of deception are wooed into employment, particularly in the rural areas, into urban communities to seek for greener pastures. As they come in, they are subjected to unfair contract deals. Some of them, we refer to that as what? Domestic servitude. Some are beaten, some are vandalized, some are abused, some are even pushed into commercial sex practices. And these are some of the awareness-raising actions that the project seeks to change behaviors. We are also targeting the informal sector to see how we can address some of these unfair contract practices, some of this forced labor, if you like, because some of them are pushed into it and they do not have the capacity to be able to resist voluntarily. And so that is a concern.
I mean, where do you draw the line? Because, I mean, usually when you talk about slavery, I mean, I know there are stories that have come up, especially on the cocoa farms, where people say, well, they are just helping us. We are not exploiting them. Where do you draw the line?
So, for example, we draw the line, particularly in the agribusiness subsector, or the cocoa sector, as you talk about, if it relates to children. If you look at our Labor Act, it does indicate that from the age 15 and above, people can be given jobs that are deemed not to be hazardous. If you look at the child policy of Ghana, the children policy of Ghana, it does emphasize, it has even lowered it from 15 to 13.
Okay.
But it's emphasizing the point that the work should be hazardous. So, for example, if you take a child into the cocoa sector to work from morning to evening, you are abusing the young person mentally, you are abusing their fundamental human rights, you are abusing their rights to go to school, and when you go within that realm, we say it's child labor. If we talk about the adult, their rights within the cocoa sector must be adhered to. So I give you some examples in the cashew plantations in the Bunu region, where laborers are hired and they are deceived that their monies or salaries will be paid within a certain period, especially when the produce are sold. And so they giving them stories to the extent that female-headed households have come out to testify that it's affecting their ability to gain full employment. It's affecting their capacity to be able to raise their children, and therefore this project is bringing livelihood security programs to support such households.
Wow, I just want us to take a look at a video which gives us an idea of the sort of work that you have been doing. Then we'll come and talk about the partner interventions in the last 3 years and how successful that has been. Just take a look at this documentary.
Old Farouk Weni lives with his father and senior brother in the Zeko community, a border town south of Burkina Faso. He is just one of the over 15 children of his father, a subsistent farmer. At this young age, Farouk should be in school, but he has already dropped out.
Mami hana panonkrano omodo so ye dos na ko school. Ye ko school na class na me kono. Se wodi mfie mi na wan timi ko class back bia na omo you afli.
His father's meager earnings from this farmland means his upkeep out of school becomes a challenge for the entire family.
The time of no na me nia hoden a make me ade na akoto a private school na ma tuish kana ma na wato aso na osan ba fi do ba fi no na me sia ana sa ade a me force na sa me de to adwuma ma ono na be boy.
So across the border in Ghana's Ahafo region, Farouk's family sent him away just at the age of 12 to look for new opportunities. He stayed with a relative in this community called Hani in the Tyne district to learn how to weld metals for all kinds of objects.
Yema me pay ne ba no ba fi na me ka se me nua no o ma yi in school to mo yi no pese me fa no to adwuma na o su adwuma.
I mean, so that's a story of a victim, and I'm sure viewers can watch it on YouTube if they go to it. We just have about a minute. I'm going to ask you about the outcomes of the project so far and what your challenge is and what sort of support you need.
Thank you so much. In terms of the project, we have achieved some comprehensive outcomes. First, we have been able to undertake a comprehensive review of government's legal policies and framework around modern slavery in Ghana. And so that is a significant document which we have developed into I&E materials, and we are engaging government through an interagency relationship where we work with the SHRAJ, we work with the Anti-Human Trafficking Unit of Ghana Police Service, and so on and so forth. Within, our work on economic literacy, we have been able to support over 3,000 vulnerable people who are exposed to modern slavery practices across 4 regions and also across 100 communities. That is helping to sustain their livelihoods in terms of tiling as a business, in terms of vegetable production as a business, pastries, and so on and so forth. And that is contributing significantly in improving their economic livelihoods and connecting the sustainable development goals that emphasizes full employment, sustainable employment, resilience,
20 seconds.
And so on and so forth.
What kind of support do you need?
And so for ActionAid, we are looking more in terms of more opportunities of funding relationship. NORAD has given us the funding. The project is coming to an end this year. We are looking forward to EU. We are looking forward to other forms of funding support, and also philanthropic organizations, both in country and out of country, and especially the banks. How can we collaborate and address issues of vulnerability within the informal sector?
John Inko, Country Director, ActionAid Ghana, appreciate your time. Plenty to talk about. Hope for another opportunity to do so.
Yeah.